Hello, y'all. I'm not happy today. Just kidding, folks. Now, I have to say we have a different sound to the podcast since I will be streaming for you an episode that my friend was giving an interview. By the way, between us and Don't Spread It Out, he talked almost at his full speed. A joke on the side. They were having some tech issues at the beginning, so they were running out of time, so he put it in top gear. And believe me, he can go even faster, and he is like a computer having so much data in that head of his. Anyhow, welcome to another thrilling Q in Charge episode. You are probably wondering who my friend is. Well, I will let my fellow podcaster reveal it for you. But before I stream it, word from our sponsor. So many questions and uncertainty, but all achieve just find the right partners that will provide that help. One of them is Q Charge. Simply visit www.qcharge123.com. So we suggest you simply download their app today, Q Charge. Powering your journey one charge at a time.
Welcome to PlayMakers Talk Show, where business owners, professionals, and entrepreneurs gather to discover playmaking ideas for success. Your host is internationally recognized speaker, facilitator, and author Steve Klein, who sits down with fascinating playmakers who have made themselves and their company successful. Steve will introduce you to CEOs and executives who discuss their playmaking path toward success. And now, it's time to meet this show's playmaker. Here's your host, Steve Klein.
Welcome to PlayMakers Talk Show. This week's episode is about a CEO who is passionate about renewable energy and green technology. In the studio today is a guest who believes the word impossible should be eliminated from all dictionaries. Today's Playmaker is driven by a relentless pursuit of excellence and a commitment to sustainability. With us today is a CEO whose company provides EV charging solutions, battery storing solutions, and solar carports. This great Playmaker is Sergey Maryevich, co-founder and CEO of Q Charge. Sergey was born in former Yugoslavia and embarked on a journey of resilience and innovation shaped by the tumultuous civil war of the 1990s. In 2000, he migrated to the United States, venturing into the realm of construction. Sergey mastered the English language and ascended the ladder of success, diversifying his skill set across various construction trades. His passion for renewable energy and green technology and 23 years in electrical contracting led him to specialize in solar and electric vehicle infrastructure projects. Over the past 6 to 8 years, Sergey has spearheaded initiatives for multifamily buildings, commercial enterprises, and banks, and overseeing the installation of over 30,000 EV charging stations. Sergey's entrepreneurial spirit shines through his role as co-founder and CEO of Q Charge, a pioneering venture aimed at revolutionizing the EV networking landscape. Leveraging his extensive experience in the electrical field, Sergey collaborated with industry stalwarts to develop cutting-edge solutions and software. Striving to place Q Charge as a leader in the electrification sector, his podcasting on Q in Charge furthers his commitment to demystifying new technologies and fostering discourse. Sergey, thank you very much for being a part of Playmakers Talk Show today.
Steve, thank you for having me.
First thing I want to ask you is about how you're revolutionizing the electrification system in the United States and potentially the world.
I started with this venturing of electrification, well, just electrical contracting, as you said, 23 years ago. So I do have a really significant knowledge in, let's say, in this industry already by now. My first charging station that I placed in the ground was 2006 in California, in Los Angeles. And since then, as you mentioned, I already placed about 30,000 chargers just in California. Globally, close to 50,000, some of them that I had projects in the EU. So since then, but let's say the past 6 to 8 years that I was the most heavily involved into, let's say, EV industry and electrification of United States, I could say that we identify as much as it's possible, those elements and issues that we have here, specifically in the public sector of the charging stations. So that we wanted to find out those elements and to make those improvements. So that basically not only to make those improvements, but how we can actually also achieve the competitive pricing that is also affordability, because a lot of people here in the United States cannot afford the charging stations on their businesses, properties. And even though that right now we're already seeing in some states that they are mandating as a new construction properties and buildings that they have to allocate certain percentage to the designated to the EV charging stations. However, those costs are hefty, and some of the property owners and buildings cannot actually do that. Sometimes it's also very difficult to tap into the grants and the funds because of all the requirements that they're asking for, the legislations and stuff like that. So we try to holistically approach to all that and how we can actually make that improvements. So the start point was actually the software. So we did not want to cut the corners as some of the let's say leading companies in the United States done that. We actually created our software from the scratch. So from the back end, front end, and our phone app. So that is all our unique proprietorship product, and also developed in-house, so that I do not have to depend on a third-party company or let's say overseas company that they work on a different time zones and stuff like that, language barriers. So I can actually come up to my clients and solutions in a way faster and sooner than some of our competitors. I'm not going to say that they are that we're only company having that kind of thing, but there are not many companies that they done this as a holistic approach, that they have a completely full turnkey solution. Most of the companies, they're going to have their own equipment, but they will depend on the software solutions by the third companies, then payment providers by the next company, then the operators by the next company. So then you have so many entities working together, and then when you have a problem that the machine is down, don't work, you have to bring all those entities to work together seamlessly within those that they guaranteed, like say 72 hours of downtime maximum, which we do have the instances that people are having charging stations working with 6 months to maybe even a year. So that becomes a problem and issue. So I wanted to make sure and ensure that our equipment, it's all the time on. So with our software and protocols that we've done with a combination of our hardware, we achieve that. So our software, even that, for example, our networking it's down for any reason because of the SIM cards not working or the Wi-Fi is down or any reasons, our machines are going to go in a state of the free of charge. So basically, we collect still the data for 30 days, and we can then back charge the clients. So that when basically there is no profit loss, and at the same time the machines are not obstructed, and the clients and the customers coming to the charging stations are not frustrated not having that chance to charge when they come, because we had so many issues right now in reports on a feedback on a public charging stations. When people come to it, the charging station doesn't work because it's either the software or it's a vandalism or it's a damage or a customer neglectance. So we do see these days a lot of vandalism as well. People are cutting the cords because of the copper collectors, right? And recyclers and stuff like that. So that stuff, for example, in the EU, it was already solved in a very unique way. And that means that their charging stations, the public charging stations, do not have cables. So you as a client, you are responsible to carry your own cable. And then you have basically just as a socket. So it's kind of just like a plug on both ends on a cable, and you can plug it into the charger, plug it in a car. But that cable goes with you all the time. So I think it's really good and unique solution, at least in the EU.
Sounds like a great solution to me. It sounds like you're also a one-stop shop. You're doing everything for your clients, but who are your clients?
Well, to be honest with you, Steve, anybody can be client for this, because electrification of this stuff can be even in your home. What we're trying and proposing, which it's kind of also a very unique model of business that potentially even the residents people can have, is they can become their own public charging station as long as they put the charger in their driveway and they create that as a amenity to, let's say, bypassers and put yourself on the map. Well, people are going to come to you and they're going to charge. I know that a lot of people are not going to go to that because of the privacy and they want to have their own home, their own driver. But there will be people wanted to that, and there will be people that want to make money out of it. Just take an example, Airbnb. You know, they are properties for rent. So why not create that extra amenity for those property? The renters, when they come, the tenants, right? That you're going to give them something. So give them extra amenity. Give them that charging session, right? So that could be, that's, let's say, one of the targeting. But I believe so that anybody can be, any business, any building, any multifamily, shopping malls, shopping centers, hospitals. You go to the shopping mall, of course, if you have a charging station. But I'm saying for those, for example, you have to also create your analytics, right? I will not recommend to the clients, let's say if you're in a shopping mall, go with the fast charger. Why? You as an owner of a shopping center or a shop, your goal is to keep those people longer to your shop. So why you want them to give them the fast charging stations? So go with the level 2. First of all, it doesn't cost you more money. You still give that amenity. The vehicles are going to come over there, and people are going to stay for what? Hour and a half while they shop, while they spend money to your property, and still you will generate the money out of the electrical sessions, of charging sessions, and the customer will happy. Well, they will be happy, and they will be coming back to your property, because humans are creatures of the habit. So when you know that at a certain location you have already amenity or charging stations, you will come to that more often than to any other. I'm doing that the same thing these days, right? I passed in on a gasoline station, right? If I know that one gas station is close to my house, my neighborhood, on the corner, I'll go to that gas station every single time. So we're a creature of the habit. So let's give that to the people, those amenities. And for example, also in Los Angeles, we already had an experience that people were losing the tenants just because they did not have in their multifamily building amenity as a charging stations, because they were like EV owners, or they wanted to transfer to EV, but they did not have that at the property. So they will look for the properties who have that. So place yourself ahead of time. That's why I'm telling to all real estate owners, right? The commercial properties owners, the building, the businesses. Put yourself ahead of time. Don't wait for when my neighbor does it. Because the biggest constraints which we talked earlier, we have is basically the energy. How are we going to get that energy fast? Utility companies, first of all, lack of manpower, lack of just energy sources into their substations, in the transformers, delay of the electrical materials. In some instances, we need to wait for about 18 months to 2 years before you're going to even get energy needed for your property. So how do you think it's going to be 4 years from now? It's going to be even worse, longer wait time. So people need to wake up and do this now, because as we talked also earlier, this will not go away. Yes, there is a bit of a pushback by some lobbyists and people who are against the EVs, and we saw a lot of those informations on mainstream media and the news talking about the fire hazards and stuff like that. That people are getting those vehicles being on a fire. However, nobody's talking about the gasoline. Gasoline is still getting more on a fire, than actually electric vehicles. There are always pros and cons on both ends, gasoline and electric cars. I'm not going to say that electric cars are, superb right now. There are still a lot of, long road ahead of us to actually develop everything in a better manner, to achieve higher mileage range, shorter periods of a charging time. So that technology will develop.
Let me ask you a question back to the beginning of what you were just talking about. Correct me if I'm wrong, a level 2 charger is a slower charger. And that's what you're talking about, to put those into the shopping centers rather than a level 3, which is a faster charger. And that's what most people look for when they're driving around, the big level 3 charger. So a level 3, or level 2 rather, not only will you keep your customers there longer, it's better for your vehicle, I would think, with a slower charger, but also less expensive. Is that correct? To have a level 2 compared to level 3?
Less expensive, I wouldn't say, because the charge is basically attached to the kilowatt hour. So how much is the price of the kilowatt? It doesn't matter, even if it's a slow charge, if it's a fast charge, the amount is going to be the same. You just achieve faster or slower, the charge sessions. Now, you're correct. The slower the charge is, the longer the battery of the vehicle is going to last. The less constraints on the battery, and the less potential ways to caught the vehicle on a fire. So why are actually the vehicles catch on a fire? Is because of the fast infusion of a large amount of energy at very short time. So of course it's going to generate the heat. And then of course some of those vehicles are not, or those battery packs are not pre-designed for all hardwares, because each hardware has a different type of capacities. Your vehicles also has a different type of acceptance of the capacities and at a certain rate and range. But however, I believe so, not believe so, but it's just science. It's proven that on a slower charge, your battery is going to last longer. The faster you're charging your vehicles, that's why I'm saying I believe so that public charging stations should be used only for the long trips. Like when you go on a road, you want to kind of get in and out. You don't want to spend like 5 hours to fill up your vehicle, right? So you want to be in and out maybe within 15 to 20 minutes. That should be happening, but not that often. And I do not recommend also people to go to those fast charging that often. That's why I believe so that also in the future our charging sessions, 80% is going to happen at your home. Also, by the statistics, if we look this way, for each EV being on the road, we would need at least 3 charging stations, right? One at your home, one at your work, one public. At home, right, so it's going to give you that convenience of charging sessions, inconvenience of your home, so you don't have to worry where you're going to go. At your work, of course, just additional support for the commuting in a day, or maybe I forgot last night to charge and stuff like that, so I can have that support at my work. And then, of course, for the long trips, that you have the public charging stations, which mainly we're going to see them in the rural areas. They're going to be also next to the freeways and stuff like that, where they can be just kind of quickly hop off the freeway, hop on the freeway. So I believe so that fast charging stations, that will be the real support to it. And of course for the fleets, let's say the taxi drivers, Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, that they are transferring right now to the EV. USPS just signed up the agreement for the full electrification. Amazon, it's full electrification. USPS, all of them, they're going to go in the fleets. So they will definitely need those DC chargers, fast chargers, because those batteries are first of all higher on the capacities, and they're going to be in a need to be on a road more faster than actually, kind of like a daily consumer or a person, right?
So correct me if I'm wrong, that the chargers that people have in their homes are level 2 chargers, which is a slower charger and better for the vehicle. Or for the battery.
Well, when you purchase actually the vehicle with your car, I'm not sure if it's a standard equipment for all manufacturers, but it comes with a level 1 charger, which is basically just your trickle charger. So the trickle chargers, for example, they are working on very, very slow capacities, low capacities, so the charging sessions are very, very long. In some instances, even to a couple days.
But you can plug it in all night.
You can plug it in all night, but let's say for those trickle chargers, you would need literally to charge every single day after use of your vehicle. And I guarantee you that after maybe a week or 10 days, you will not be able to catch up with the charging sessions on those trickle chargers as much as your consumption is going to be. So you will definitely then try to find a public location where you can actually get yourself to the full charge, maybe once in a while, or maybe level 2 charger stations. They do have actually level 2 charging stations that are up to 80 amps capacity, which can charge the vehicle within 2.5 hours. Let's say the level 2 charging stations that they are right now the most common use at the home at 32 amps. You can probably anticipate between 5 to 6 hours or overnight charge. We're talking 0 to full. None of the vehicles are going to be 0 to full at your home, because we daily commute maybe 50, 60 miles, unless if you're a cab driver, 250, 300 miles, which that's pretty much that I know from the statistics. But on a daily charge, like let's say Tesla vehicle, for example, since they have the largest mileage range, you literally have to charge your vehicle maybe on every 4th or 5th day at your home, right? If you want to go like the full charge. But again, sometimes people, they have that kind of range anxiety. Oh, where I'm going to charge? What if I'm stuck in the traffic and stuff like that? So they want to at least be always kind of a little bit charged. And I say to the people, when you see that you're hitting that 30% mark of your battery capacity, stop and charge.
Well, it sounds similar to carrying my cell phone.
Yes.
I want to make sure I have a charge in here. Now, it's not the exact same thing, but I want to make sure I have a charge so I can use it. Same thing with the car now.
Yes, correct. There are coming right now also the roadside assistance supports, right, for the people who are getting stuck on the middle of the road, nowhere to charge. So kind of like a AAA when they bring you the gasoline, now they're going to bring you the portable charging stations to kind of give you that boost so that you kind of continue to the next location where you can charge.
Let me ask you this. You were born in the former Yugoslavia, a war-torn area, basically in the latter half of the 20th century. You came to the United States when you were late 20s. You've been here since 2000. You've had a lot of situations in your life where things are a little bit different in Europe than here in the United States. You've learned a lot. You speak 9 languages. What got you to this point where EVs and electrification became your passion?
When I was 9 years old.
What happened?
Well, when I was 9 years old, I was playing with the RC cars on the batteries, right? So with the remote and wireless technology and stuff like that. So I came to my father. My father was one of the top mechanical engineers of former Yugoslavia. And I went the same steps, so I became a mechanical engineer. But even when I was 9 years old, I was playing with those little toy cars. I was hobbyist. I was making the planes. I was making the drones at the time didn't exist, but planes, helicopters, and all kind of stuff on RC I was making. So I say, well, why we don't make this engine, like motor, electric motor that is small, just blow it up big and put it in a car and drive. It's for free, no gas, nothing. Of course.
So you were thinking about this when you were 9 years old?
When I was 9 years old. And my dad, at the time, mechanical engineer, said, oh, kiddo, what the heck you know? So, of course, that was the time when I said that impossible in my language doesn't exist. So it was like, why? It's possible. Look, it exists in the middle. It's a miniature. So why we just don't make it big? It's simple. In my mind, that was simple as a kid. Of course, nothing is simple. I mean, there is like a lot of engineering required to. But is it possible? Yes. And as you said, of course, that Nikola Tesla, in the late 18th, hundreds years, right, when he developed his first commercialized electric vehicle. So we're basically just reinventing the wheel. I mean, the GM1 was the first actually American-made vehicle, I believe so in 19 something, I forgot exactly, 1901 or 1902 year that they kind of actually deployed it. But of course, the mileage was different, the battery. Actually, at the time they had different systems. They were basically swapping the batteries. So they basically just be a big battery pack. They put it in a car and swap in 5 minutes and you can go. It didn't, of course, stayed because of the industrialist gasoline. It was too early of a stage.
And gas was very plentiful.
Of course. I mean, even today, we swim in it. I mean, when the people say that that gasoline resources are kind of depleting and stuff like that, heck no, we're having a lot of gas. But is it sustainable? Is it good for the planet? Is it good for us as a living? No, it's not. So we're trying to find more sustainable and green energies that we can actually move to better and cleaner surroundings, for us, for the future generations.
We talked about impossible, getting rid of that word out of the dictionary. You also mentioned the fact that failure is an interesting concept for you. You don't believe in failure because you failed over and over and over again. How did that get into your head in terms of staying with something until you actually made it happen?
Persistence, stubbornness.
How did you learn that? Was it from your father? From your family?
I could say that, genetics is genetics, right? So how my parents and my ancestor was, probably I'm in a certain way as they were, right? At least a little bit of mentality. But also it's a surrounding, it's also how you're influenced by where you live, what you do. We also discussed, right, being in the sports. You were in taekwondo, I was in karate. So just being in a certain, I would say being influenced by the certain groups, it shapes you in a certain way. So, for example, which we talked about earlier about the karate. So let's talk about that for a little bit. So, how that actually shaped me being the way I am, right? So, since I was 10 years old, my karate teacher was from Japan. So he brought with him also his culture and his way of the thinking, and he actually influenced on me. Like he was also one of my guidance in my life, my idol. And in a way, the karate taught me what we just said, that persistence, right? The failure. How many times did I fail in karate? I mean, how many times that bamboo stick was on my thighs from literally, he was beating me with a bamboo stick. But I was resilient. I said, no, you're not going to chase me. I'll do it. I'll be better. I'll be the best. And out of the 100 students, with the first 3 months, we were sized up to 30. 3 months later, it was only 10. A year later, it was only 3 of us. So, in a way, teach me, how to kind of grapple with the life, I would say, because we grapple with the life every day,
Absolutely.
And those daily failures, right? Because I can guarantee you that every day you will have some small failing, right? You will have some successes, of course. Not everything is a failure, but everything in the life that you fail for, it will prepare you to be better in the future, if you see it, of course. As we discussed, right, I said every failure for me, that was one step of my ladder. Ladder to where? To success. So if you want to be successful, you cannot stop. It's basically just, like being a fighter, right? When you're knocked out, you're going to get up You're going to go over there. I believe so in a way that, let's say, good times create soft people, I would say. And then because you become a little bit more softer, I don't want to insult nobody, but let's say you become a little bit more softer in your life, you're not seeing that need to grapple, to fight for it, because it's okay, I'll do it next day or next time, stuff like that. Well, I don't see it that way. The way how I see it, I want it today. I want it now. I want it, you have to make that effort to achieve those goals. Otherwise, you're going to be just what? Couch potato.
Let me ask you this. Your website is qcharge123.com.
Yes.
Who do you want as additional clientele? If someone has interest in what you're talking about, who do you want as clients to contact you on your website?
Well, to be honest with you, Steve, anybody can be let's say a client, or let's say, I do not want to call them clients. I call everybody for them, they're my partners. Because this is also a long-term relationship. It's not just like, hey, I'm going to sell you something and I'm not going to see you ever again. This is a little bit different industry and different type of a sale. But our clients are, it can be literally anybody. It can be from the residential, like let's say homeowners, they have the EV at their house. It can be multifamily. It could be hotels. It could be shopping malls, gas stations. I mean, we have a couple gas stations right now that they're adding to their gas pumps. They want to add also charging stations to slowly start on transitioning. Now, of course, with the gas stations, that's kind of a little bit also difficult, because by the regulations, if they want to completely convert to the electrification, they would need to also get rid of the tanks. Very costly. Now, that's why a lot of people, we'll see how it's going to happen in the future, how they're going to seal that, or if there's going to be some loopholes. But anybody can be, like I said, our partner. And we are really open to work with anybody that is sharing this vision of a greener future for our planet and our future generations.
Well, Sergey, thank you very much for being a part of PlayMakers Talk Show. This was a fascinating discussion. I learned a lot, and I appreciate you being a part of the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Steve, and pleasure being with you.
I'm speaking with Sergey Marievich, and he is the co-founder and CEO of QCharge. This has been a terrific show. Thank you to Sergey for joining us, and thanks to all of you for listening and joining us also. Remember, to help control our pet population, let's have all of our pets spayed or neutered, and to adopt a pet, you might want to contact straydog.org. Join us again at PlayMakersTalkShow.com, where you can get all of our past episodes. That's PlayMakersTalkShow.com, and we'll be back with more Playmakers. See you then.
You've been listening to Playmakers Talk Show with Steve Klein. Join Steve again at PlayMakersTalkShow.com for more interviews with interesting and successful playmaking CEOs and executives.
Big thank to my fellow podcaster, Steve Klein, and his Playmaker Podcast Talk Show. Well, folks, you heard it from a big man. And let me tell you, this is nothing compared to what he knows, just life experience he had. He is a very diverse and versatile person. I don't even know how he stores all that in his memory. I mean, really one of the most amazing people I've met and worked with in my life. Before signing off, my last thought, the more I read, find a report on the green energy sector, the more fascinated I am with how much we have achieved in the past couple of years. This is revolution. I mean, just look how fast we're developing globally. Amazing we are, generations that is witnessing an industrial shift and revolution. Remember, every revolution starts with a single step, or in our case, a single charge. Whether you're already cruising in your EV or still contemplating the switch, know that your choices are shaping the world for generations to come. Thank you for tuning in to this episode. I'm your host, Joe the Q, reminding you to keep pushing boundaries, asking questions, and seeking truths in your quest for a better world. Remember, the journey to electrification is not a sprint. It's a marathon, and it's one we're running together. Stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay charged. Joe the Q signing off, and until next time,